Hello, this is Dr. Bridget Cole Williams for Healthy Relationships Only. Are we able to survive infidelity? Can we find a place of happiness and peace after a destruction of a relationship? We'll be talking today with Renelle E. Nelson, marriage and family therapist and sex therapist, here on Healthy Relationships Only. Hello, Renelle. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So it's been a while. I'm excited to connect with you again and see what you've been up to and talk about something that you probably have gotten to a space of being very comfortable talking about is really uncomfortable for other people. So tell people first, number one, what you do.
I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. I am a ASEX certified sex therapist, and I'm an infidelity recovery strategist.
Okay.
I'm in Arizona right now.
So what does that mean when you say intimacy recovery?
So I'm a couples therapist and I specialize in intimacy and infidelity recovery, meaning a lot of people who work with me have been, relationship have been ruptured either from intimacy or infidelity. So they just work with me to recover from that. What the recovery means look like understanding, education, and support.
Okay. And so I think for a lot of people, the idea of recovering from infidelity in a relationship, for some people, they consider this. I know a lot of people that say, hey, it's inevitable
Mhm.
that men will cheat. I know men that say women will cheat. Like they go into marriage with a certain level of skepticism and not really believing that this is, the fairy tale that I think a lot of, young people believe. Have you been seeing this or how does that fit in?
I think it comes in from lack of education and lack of communication.
Hmm.
We can assume anything, but that's the thing is we assume and we don't discuss it. We're not
Right.
discussing what we feel. We're not discussing if I'm seeing if our partner is on the same page. And that leads us to those deal breakers, those betrayals, those miscommunications. So the key is if you're thinking about it, discuss it.
Right. Absolutely. So I feel that, when I got married, we did, I don't know, a short amount of counseling with the pastor. I think the last visit he was like, because we were driving from Ohio up to Michigan for all of these visits, right? The last one he was like, forget about it. Like he didn't take it very seriously. It made it hard for us to take it seriously, to be honest. And I don't even know if that even comes up during those visits. Like, what is your viewpoint on that? And what is the responsibility of the church or the pastor to prepare people for marriage?
So I think now they are. I'm hearing a lot of churches are having groups and they're talking about monogamy and infidelity because it's so rampant and because it's not discussed, and what's not discussed breed in the darkness. So I think
Mhm.
now they are discussing that because it's a lot of divorce groups, how to stay together, and their dating groups. I think they're just now starting to talk about it. So it
Mhm.
depends on the church and everything. I'm not really familiar with that, but I think the responsibility is not always on the churches and the individuals also.
Well, who's supposed to teach people? Because you say it's on the individual, right? But we all have our own background. We have experienced, our parents and maybe other relatives. Depending on when you get married, you might be the first one in your little friend group or what have you, or you might be the last one, right? Um, how are we supposed to know what a good marriage or relationship is?
In this age, if you can use your phone, you can figure stuff out. You can Google it. You can do education.
Right.
You can go to Barnes and Nobles. You can figure it out. If you can figure out the TikTok dances, the latest, how to get a purse, how to apply makeup, you can use this tool to save
Yeah.
your relationship and get the education. It's the thing that you want to look for it. It's no
Right.
blame and shame. If you feel like you don't know, it's plenty of information to help you find out. The key to it is we can't blame anybody, right? I don't think it's like a blame approach. It's the part of better understanding.
Yeah, no,
That's
I
how.
hear you. I hear you. I do think it's funny. Those are conversations, and maybe even internally, people don't want to have this conversation with themselves, particularly you're young and you're in love, and oh, I'm sure you think like how I think. But at the end of the day, you're saying if you're not having that some of those critical conversations, and to be honest, when you're when they say youth is wasted on the young, like you're entering into this with such little life experience typically,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
that you and you many times are in that fairy tale mode, and
Mm-hmm.
nothing would ever go wrong, and yeah, that might have been that's what young people do, right? That happened to you, that would never happen to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
um I don't think I feel like there needs to be the elder that can provide some guidance before marriage, like in the process of it, because I also know people that I have friends that never got married because they saw their parents' marriage,
Mm-hmm.
they saw the infidelity, they saw the destruction, and they were like, no, I would never do that. And a lot less women, particularly Black women, are getting married now. And partly it's finding a partner, but partly it's due to seeing bad relationships, and they're choosing not to get married. And many of them are choosing not to have children. The numbers are increasing.
Right.
Um, what have you seen with the couples that you've worked with?
So I work with couples who want to stay together. So I work with couples who come in that they have come from that devastation and they're tired of just being and they just want to learn more. Nobody taught us how to do anything, right? So we have to say, hey, it stops with us. So
Mhm.
they come in and I do a lot of education about the monogamy myth, about a lot of stuff, how to have discussions. I don't think infidelity is what's hard. I think people just don't like having hard conversations. We to prepare for it is not talking about it's already there. To prepare is how to stay. Fidelity is the conversation, not
Mhm.
infidelity. So I
Mhm.
think it's reversing that frame of thought of how to teach fidelity,
How to teach
and how to
fidelity.
teach fidelity, how to stay in contact, how to just stay nurturing, how to be one with yourself, how to understand yourself. Because infidelity to me, is a characteristic flaw. So you have to understand yourself. You have to just understand the relationship, and you have to talk about the reality of a lot of stuff. So I think the infidelity conversation can come before the fidelity conversation. How are we going to deal with changes? How are we going to do if our sex life change? How are we going to do this? How, when you don't love me a day, what are you going to do? That's the fidelity conversation, not an infidelity.
I love them. I love
So
that.
we're talking
And
about
you said
infidelity, it's more hurt and pain. Fidelity is not hurt and pain, it's
right.
sustainability.
It's just preparing, right?
That's all it is.
Um, w- when you just said that the fidelity issue is a character flaw.
Infidelity is,
Yeah,
to
that's
me,
what I meant. I'm sorry. The infidelity is a character flaw.
characteristic flaw because no matter what you do, nobody can pull or push you into having an affair. It's a choice. So if I
Mhm.
make that choice, it's something in me that's making saying like it's a good thing to do, right? So that's a character thing. It has nothing to do with my partner.
Mhm.
Everybody don't cheat.
Mhm.
Everybody doesn't cheat, and we have to stop normalizing that because I work with people who don't do it. So
Right.
we don't hear their stories though, right? We only hear
Right.
about the stuff. We don't hear about the people who don't do it because we just expect it. And I think expecting infidelity kind of probably be a trauma response because if I get in front of it, it won't hurt me as much.
Right.
kind of like a trauma response. So if all I saw is betrayal, I'm going to expect betrayal. So I know you're going to cheat. So I'm gonna give you silent consent and say, long as you don't bring it home, right?
Right.
Because I'm already projecting that that's going to happen to me.
And in
And
some ways, you kind of create your own reality, don't you? Like you basically just gave a
right,
green light.
because we're not having a conversation,
Mm.
right? Because it's the conversation that we avoided and the feeling.
So, how do you, because I feel like more and more, if you're on social media, like you said, that we're normalizing this. And I see comments, if you're a woman and you don't cheat, say something. If you're, a man and you don't cheat, and as if that is the normal. Okay. And I feel culturally we are making it acceptable. Um, how do we get beyond that as a people, as a culture, and so that we put more faith in the relationships that we're building? Because all of that drama is not good for kids, it's not good for yourself, obviously. How do we make a shift in our culture?
I don't think it's just a culture. I think it's a society problem. You
Yeah.
have to see how society upholds affairs. You turn to your regular TV stations and
Mhm.
see how who got movies. Turn to Lifetime. Turn to
Mhm.
anything. All shows got an affair in it.
Mhm.
Pick your top show and it's an affair, infidelity. So they highlight and glamorize affairs, right? Then you think about the people you surround yourself with that upholds that affairs are okay. Okay, so it's bigger than just the dyad of the man and the woman and the culture. It's the whole societal view. And if you want to change that, I just say start by educating, starting having the conversations, and then also be how to protect your relationship, how to understand yourself, and if you unfortunately experiencing it, how to heal and not just deal with it. So I think it's
Absolutely.
just like it's bigger that how you do like that is you be like, we want to break generational curses, but we can't break them. We just got to say it ends with us.
It
So
ends with us.
that's why I'm in the field, because it has to end, because nobody's educating about fidelity. Nobody is start having a conversation about betrayals. Now betrayals are something that happened way before a relationship. Betrayal happens with your caregivers in a childhood. So we go into the relationship with betrayals already,
Mhm.
right? Betrayals is something that infidelity is an affair or having sex with somebody else, or what you deem a relationship with somebody else. But it's still micro betrayals that can even feel like infidelity, just it. But nobody talks about those. We deal with those, right? We should talk about all betrayals.
So, is it possible to be in a relationship without betrayals?
Betrayals are silent contracts that are broken. How do you is can you be in a relationship without betrayals? No. But are we in
You
it?
see, that's
Yes.
the important part right there, right? Because, and I don't mean it in a negative way when I ask you that. I say that because if you know that as humans, there might be, like you said, micro betrayals. If you believe one betrayal is the deal breaker, you're not going to last long in anything, right? So we have to get to a point of what are your deal breakers? What humans do minor things and they do big things that can cause problems. And so it's not possible to honestly be in a relationship with some level of betrayal, but it's the extent, or how would you say that?
Betrayals, but we have to say, you're not telling me how you just spent the money can be a betrayal to me.
Mhm.
You going to your parents and telling them in our business can be a betrayal to me. So
Mhm.
betrayals don't always have to be, it's what I find important that we didn't discuss. I just assumed. So that's anything. We live with daily betrayals all the
Mhm.
time is how they add up, and we don't discuss them. We have to come in and be like talking about what betrayal is. What's betrayal is? That should be like your first how what's your name? What you're healing from. Hey, who
Mm,
hurt you? Hey,
mhm.
what does betrayal mean to you? Hey, have you ever been betrayed? That should be in our conversations. We should
Wow.
be talking about in a relationship what hurts our partner and how our partner is doing. What are they healing from? But we don't. So we can't keep passing the buck. You
Mhm.
have to take the stand and just understand what you did. If you've been hurt, how do you justify keep being hurt? Is discuss, hey, this is what happened to me. How do you feel about this?
Mhm.
How do you view this? Do you view it? It's a conversation. Or a relationship is made up of small, intimate conversations. If you don't have those small conversations, you don't have a relationship, you have a situationship. So we have to stop with all this fluff and hashtag couple goals and surface
Mhm.
and get really below the surface to me. And we can't blame anybody to me. And I know this is not a popular opinion, but ourselves. We can blame our parents, our pastor, anything, but you can search and know what you want and you can advocate for yourself in a non-assertive way.
So how what about the person? What if your partner is doesn't communicate?
Okay.
Like what it doesn't like to communicate, like there are avoidant personalities, disorders where they simply they're good for the light conversation, they're good for probably other aspects of the relate, but intimate deep conversation is something that they're not good at.
So because the title of this show is Healthy Relationships, I'm going to ask you, why is that your partner?
Mm-hmm. Why is that your
I'm just
partner?
I'm just asking. Did you
Mm-hmm.
go in there thinking you can save them or change them? Now,
Mm-hmm.
don't get me wrong, people present with their avatar,
They
right? People
sure
put their
do.
But when you see that coming out, we need to nip it in the bud and talk about now. Hey, I see that you are not communicating well, like will help our relationship. How can I support you? Maybe it's a book, maybe it's therapy, maybe it's something else. But we can't keep letting it happen and then keep weaponizing what we knew from the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We want to talk about healthy relationships. Let's talk about healthy relationships.
Right, absolutely. So is it good to okay, so women and I think men do it too. You go to your girlfriends and talk about your relationship or try to get advice or what have you, and then you're in a situation where you have your friends giving opinions, and hopefully you have good friends. You know what I mean? That can be supportive. But they don't know healthy any better than you do, you know? Um where, obviously, do you have people that are all of your clients always couples or do you have individuals?
I have individuals.
You do. Okay. So people will come to you to try to work out their own pain. The relationship's already over, but they don't want to bring this into the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. Absolutely. I heard someone say the other day that whenever we deal with a traumatic relationship, abusive relationship, what have you, the red flags, the alarms, go off, right? But the longer you're in that, and then you start moving on to the next one, they don't sound as loud because you've already become somewhat accustomed to it. And so then you don't, it is not as upsetting to you, meaning that you don't run from it because you're like, oh yeah, I've done that. This isn't the worst thing in the world. And that when we're coming out of a relationship, any relationship, it's time to do a reset, do a reboot, figure out who you are again, get rid of the trauma that happened in the last relationship before you run into the next.
Yeah. And this, I just want to note this. This is what I'm trying to assist people in. We can't keep losing ourselves in the relationships. We shouldn't, I have to get rid of you to find me. We
Mhm.
should know and understand ourselves why we're in that relationship. Why do we have to leave and then figure it out? Because that make me think, what are you going in for? That every time something go wrong, you demise, you just self sacrifice yourself for the relationship. So you got to leave to find it. So I'm encouraging all my premarital and everybody I work with. How can you? Who told you that? Who told you that you can't love yourself and be in a relationship? Okay. So what
Mhm.
I'm teaching people is how to find themselves and continue to love, because if something is bothering you, why do you got to just keep continue to deal with it and not have a conversation? Why can't
Mhm.
you break the pattern? Why can't you do everything? Why do you have to leave to then do everything? That's one aspect. But sometimes I know stuff happen. Well, I think that it's better late than never to talk about it. It's part to heal, but healing is a buzzword. It's
Mhm.
what does that healing mean to you? Because time doesn't heal. It's what you do at the time. Some people think that are you
Mm.
healing
Wait,
or are
wait,
you
wait,
not?
wait, wait, wait. Stop. Say it again. It is not, time does not heal. It's what you do with the
Is
time.
what you do at the time, because I have a lot of people that I work with, women who
Mhm.
think healing is isolation. And then
Mhm.
they come out of isolation and say, I'm ready to love, only to go back in because
And
they
do
didn't
the
do
same thing.
anything. But all they did is isolate and self care, lose weight, and eat right.
Mhm.
Right? That's really all they did. They really didn't go deep dive into themselves. And then really healing is really being able to call yourself on your own shit. Healing is seeing how can you be accountable for yourself. Well, you know what? I'm gonna take that back. Healing is how you define it. I'm not gonna
Mhm.
project anybody what you should do on your healing journey. I just want you to understand how are you gonna know you are healing on your healing journey,
Yeah.
right?
Set
So
some
that's all.
goals, set some parameters.
Yeah. And what
Mhm.
is it? And what are you seeing? And are you really to challenge your patterns?
Mhm. Mhm. Absolutely. No, I love that. What is your most challenging situations?
Oh, one of them is people who blame their childhood for a lot of stuff.
Mhm.
Another is um, dealing with a partner who's not willing.
Yeah. Yeah, they come in together, but
They're
they
not willing. They
yeah.
don't have space. Working with a couple who don't have space for their partner, I think, is a hard one
Mhm. Yeah.
because nothing I can do.
Absolutely. Yeah. They either both coming to the table or they're not.
And just willingness is like the key. I used
Mhm.
to say communication was the key, but to me, I've been working in this field for over 12 years, and I can
Mhm.
say communication is not the key. It's emotional regulation.
Mhm.
Emotional regulation is the key because you have to be emotionally regulated and mature to even use the tools, right? Because you just can't apply the tools on something with a crack in it. You got to want to use the tools. You got to want to work it out. You got to want your partner. You have to want to improve. Just slapping stuff on there is not going to make you want it.
Yeah, because it's not magic.
It's not. So the willingness is like one of the key things. Emotional regulation and willingness are like the top two things to me that determines a successful, healthy relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. So are you hopeful?
I'm very hopeful. I believe in love. I love love. Love is amazing. And I teach pleasure after betrayal. I teach love after betrayal, right?
Mhm.
That's my whole thing. That's what I love to do, to show you that you can love and be loved and receive pleasure after betrayal.
Yeah. And the couple can come back together.
The couple can come back together, and if you all relationships can and should not be saved,
Mhm.
right? So
Mhm.
I'm not here to force, I'm just here to give you the education you need to make that decision,
Mhm.
right? But if not, you can choose to love again. We can't let people indiscretions define our characteristic. So we always talk about the betrayal for others, but we don't talk about self-betrayal. Self-betrayal is taking that residue on with you and think that it was your fault. You had a part in a relationship, you didn't have a part in an affair,
Right.
right? So why am I gonna let somebody indiscretions challenge my character and take my right to love because they made a bad choice?
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, this is tough stuff. I'm taking it in, I'm letting it soak in, but this is tough stuff because I think it's so prevalent, so normalized. So, I feel like when I say that there needs to be a reset, I feel that we culturally need a reset, that we need to kind of pull back a little bit. And, like you said, decide going in. I mean, so here's a question for you. I have to roll my eyes for a minute, but a lot of talk in the last couple of months, about Will and Jada and what have you, right? And I don't follow that closely, but I know at some point after him being divorced the first time, he said divorce was never an option. And that whatever it is that they whatever communication they had, whatever they were working through, they were still going to work that out together. Do you see, I mean, there's definitely some unhealthy aspects of their relationship, but do you see their relationship in essence something that people should emulate? Or do you feel like they are probably the biggest red flag, biggest fail?
I don't know. I don't follow it. All I know is people relationships are not a community projects. And if somebody want to open
Mhm.
their relationship, that's on them. I think that we always don't know the conversations that they have. I
They
think a lot of
really
people have agreements. I work with non-monogamous couples. I work
Mhm,
with kink couples. I work with BDSM couples.
mhm.
I work with all different type of couples. We don't know their contracts they have. Is when the outside place judgment on it. So I think that when you live in the limelight and you let people in, this will happen with judgment. But I think they doing what they want to do because it's their relationship.
Yeah,
So
they're
I'm not
being
any to judge because we can't judge them and then our house messy and we can't get
Mhm.
our stuff together, right? Open
Well, that's what we
relationships have.
do as a people, right? Like we love the fact that we can judge other people's lives because then our junk is not so quite so bad, right? I mean, that's what we do. That's what Jerry Springer was about. It allowed you to feel a little less bad about your own situation.
Mhm. A little less bad, but you still, when the TV go off, you still have to deal with your situation.
Still got to deal
Hey,
with it.
so whatever, hey, get high how much, you gotta come down anyway. So I think stuff is just entertainment. But at the end of the day, I think we shouldn't be involved in other people's stuff. And I know they are the figures that a lot of people relationship is like where they shouldn't open their relationship. Agreed. They shouldn't
Mhm.
be out there. I don't know. But I'm here to deal when you come down, I'm here to help you.
Yeah. Now, do you do virtual?
Yes.
Okay. And if someone wanted to reach out to you, what's the best way to reach you?
So I do virtual for coaching and therapy. Therapy is in Arizona, Wisconsin. Coaching is all the way around. So just get in contact me at Kaleidoscope Services LLC.org and I direct you to where you need to go.
Absolutely. Renelle, I got to have you back, right? Because we just barely touched the surface of so many things that you do and so much of the work that you do to help couples. So, you got to come back on here.
I'd be honored to.
Yeah, and it's great to connect with you again and to see you again and to have really a tough conversation. So, I look forward to our next time and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Absolutely.